Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 9 of the Moon Boy podcast. I'm here with Dallin Anderson at High Altitude Investing. My name is Donovan Jolly at DIY Investing, and today we're going to be talking about all of the uncertainty inside of the market that's recently happened. A lot of fear around the market, a lot of people have been panic selling. The economy is also starting to take a lot of pretty sizable approaches with hyperinflation through the Federal Reserve, and so we got a lot of cool things that we're going to talk about today in today's podcast. Really, this podcast is designed to help as many new people getting involved with this stuff get a greater perspective of what's taking place around the markets. And you know, right now with the way things are looking, it's really exciting, and I'm super excited to be able to share this information that we've got with you guys.
Volatility is really high right now, and volatility means money. Doesn't matter what direction it's going, volatility means money.
Yep,
so.
And that's really what we're here to do, is help everybody just kind of stay on that same page of profitability, because even with the markets kind of selling off and the stock market tanking, now is the best time to be making all of that money. So if you guys find any value in this video, always remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to both of our channels. Both channels will be linked in the description of this video, so you guys can find High Altitude Investing or you can find DIY Investing here. We upload every single Friday. Well, we record every Friday, but we upload on the weekends. Usually it's Saturday or Sunday, depending on that. But we do upload this podcast once a week, so you guys can actually get a little bit more of an understanding away from the actual technical analysis.
And we also do 4 videos, sometimes 5, of technical analysis on both of our channels weekly. So that means that you guys are getting a podcast and 4 technical analysis videos from both of us, which is a lot of really awesome content. So you're going to want to make sure that you're following both of us.
Yeah,
for that.
it's
and sharing this video with your friends so that they can all see how awesome this stuff is. So, yeah, the stocks have been going crazy though. The whole market, the world has been freaking out. The whole pandemic, we'll call it the pandemic so that there isn't any chance of demonetization. The whole pandemic situation has definitely been blown drastically out of proportion, which is human emotion, it's human psychology, it's crowd psychology. And crowd psychology, everybody just starts to magnify and amplify. They get together, they talk, it starts building up and amplifying on everybody's minds, and then it just grows into this thing that isn't even based in reality anymore. And that's how I feel about the pandemic. Yes, for me, my heart goes out to anybody that's lost a family member. You know, I think sometimes people want to talk about it, and then they talk about it like it's not a big deal. And although it's not killing as many people as heart disease, as many people as a lot of different things in this world, it's still killed people. And so anybody that has lost family or anything because of that, my heart goes out to you guys. But we do believe that the fear, how drastic people are looking at this, is going to die down at some point. Fear is a very low vibration, low emotion. It's not based in logic, or it's not based in any intellectual wisdom or knowledge at all. And so when you have that fear, it's going to die off and recover at some point.
And to kind of piggyback off what you said, I mean, it is really crazy what's happening. I've seen some people on Twitter that have actually been affected a little bit by coronavirus with specific family members' deaths. And that's definitely something that's so terrible, and we definitely feel for everybody out there that's going through that. One thing that, you know, I feel like is more overlooked than, you know, this death toll is one thing, but realistically, the deaths aren't very big in hindsight compared to how big the population is compared to other things. But what is really negative right now that's taking place is just the amount of unemployment that's starting to happen. I've seen a lot of people inside of my Discord. I've talked to some people that have lost work. I know my own mom, she lost work for the last 2 weeks, but that's just more paid leave. Whereas some people are getting completely laid off, some people aren't making any money right now, and so I definitely feel for anybody that's going out there. It's a really hairy situation no matter what way you kind of come about it, and it's in these times where it really does pay to kind of just keep a level head, because it is fearful. If you lost a job, obviously if you have a family to take care of, those are really scary things, but it's also really important to kind of, you know, keep a look at what's going on with the big picture. And I mean, in hindsight, to me and to you, this looks more just like a fear manipulation, shake out of the market. Exactly.
Get everybody out before the economy.
Exactly. So I think that, you know, if you're scared right now, you know, looking at everything that's taking place, I think the real only thing that we have to fear right now is not necessarily death toll itself. I mean, Italy has a little bit of a bigger death toll right now, but they also have an older population. It makes sense why it's a little bit bigger. But for me, I think that the big thing that we should fear about necessarily is if the hospitals got filled up and then we couldn't get other patients with other health problems, and that's really the only big issue that I foresee actually playing out, because to me, from a fundamental perspective, this looks way more just like they're trying to sell off the markets, to me.
And from a narrative perspective, that kind of seems to be the narrative that everybody has right now. I've noticed, I was listening to some YouTube videos, people talking about the pandemic, and most people kind of feel like right now the biggest thing is just, we don't want to overload our hospitals. It's really like the biggest problem that we could face if the virus continues to grow and spread. So with that being said, I kind of think that will just, the thing about the hospital systems and our current system that we have is, yes, we will have a lot of people filling up in hospitals, but if this thing broke out like bad, if it continues to break out, or if it broke out bad, from my perspective and from my view, a lot of people won't even be going to hospitals at that point. They'll just be at their home getting home treatment. A lot of people won't even have money to go to hospitals. If it spread like as much as it really would, it's only going to be the wealthy people that have the money to go to the hospitals in the first place that will be getting treatment and stuff like that. Which is sad, but the fact of the matter is, I think the biggest concern is just the fear itself. And I think that will leave.
It's a sad situation, and I can like speak on my own family's behalf, because I mean, since the 2008 financial crisis, there's just been, you know, yes, unemployment's gone down theoretically, but the amount of high-paying jobs has gone down, and it is theoretically harder to make money, especially for younger people in the society. And so one thing that I've noticed is just the simple fact that a lot of people don't even have health insurance. And so when it comes to getting sick, most people would rather opt out into just staying home because they don't want to have to fork over the money for the bill at the hospital. And, you know, with this coronavirus, I think that...
Well, I mean, even with health insurance, the hospital bills are crazy usually.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So. And I know with my own family, my dad, everything slowed down after the 2008 financial crisis. I would have been in like 4th or 5th grade at the time. And that was the same point where we had to kind of choose a different healthcare provider, and you know, the insurance just never was as good. And it got to the point where now, talking with a lot of people, my family does have insurance, but I mean, talking to other people that weren't as well off, I come from, you know, the average middle class home, but a lot of people don't come from even that, and they don't have any sort of health
insurance at all.
Exactly, and so I think that really it's this big fear, this big coronavirus, but when you look at the facts, yes, it is a little bit more deadly than the flu, but in hindsight, almost all the majority of cases that do get the coronavirus all say that it's similar to the flu itself. It might be a little bit worse, but it's just creating all of this random fear, and that's why I think, I mean, if you look at it from just the basic approach, yes, it is a really big deal, but I think that the biggest thing about it, and why we're starting to see all these new cases pop up, is it was a hyper-inflated number to begin with, and now when we didn't have tests at all, and then you'd see, okay, there's a new case in here, there's a new case over here. Okay, well, you have like 100 tests for the whole entire state, so I mean, what numbers are you really going off of? And now that we're starting to get all those new test kits out here, people sending them from China.
The numbers are going up because we have a way to test.
Exactly, and so I think it's an inflated fear cycle nonetheless, that's more or less just making people shake out of their investments. Because you look at crypto, we're at very low points in valuation. We could theoretically sell off and go lower, but in hindsight, I mean, we've consolidated at this lower support level for the last year, over a year at this point, and so to me, it looks more just like a shakeout than anything. And I know a lot of people panic sold this dip, and so, you know, there's still a lot of fear there, but it's really why we're here to talk about this, is because when I look at it from the basics, it's not as scary as people are making it out to believe. It makes sense why the numbers are growing, because we haven't had test kits. Now that the test kits are coming out, numbers are going up. It's creating a little bit more fear, but to me, guys, I think that right now is the buying opportunity. Realistically, it could dip another 10% in the stock market, but
as far as the pandemic goes, neither of us are doctors. We have no clues. Like, when it comes down to like how the virus spreads, like what's going to happen in the world, we don't have like medical knowledge on the subject. No. And so when we talk about these things, it's our perspective, our insight on it, just to let you guys know, because I'm looking at this from a perspective of what's happening to the markets, less from a perspective of what's happening in the world.
Exactly.
And so I wanted to kind of put that disclaimer down just so that you guys are aware that, you know, we're just a couple of dudes. We're not trying to sit here and tell you that we're professionals in the medical field or anything like that. But we also might be right about the things we're talking about because we do have a good perspective
Our
on
whole
what's going on.
perspective is applied to what's happening with the market. So as you guys are sitting here talking, and you're hearing us talk about this, it's not about the coronavirus and the pandemic itself. It's literally just about us talking about how it's affecting the charts and really the emotional psychology behind all of the markets. Because in our opinion, really, as investors inside of this space and as an investor in any financial market, it's the emotional psychology of the market that's going to give you the most clear indication of when to buy and sell. And right now, we are seeing, I haven't seen this many people showing downside targets for Bitcoin headed to new lows, $1,000 since $3,200 at capitulation. And so,
I know. That's why I had to make my biggest Bitcoin buy this year the other day, because it was like, holy cow. That, and I had a dream about it. But it's one of those things that when there's a time of intense fear, and it's reflected in crypto, it's reflected in the world markets, it's reflected in oil. It really doesn't matter what market you're in, people were panicking. And so when people panic everywhere all at once, Bitcoin did do better. The initial panic Bitcoin recovered from and actually went up when the rest of the market kept panicking. So Bitcoin has shown more strength as far as a safe haven asset and a hedge, as we originally talked about, against economic failure. But just pure fear is going to be bought up. And if I've learned one thing in my investing career, buy blood in the streets. And this is blood in the streets, man. Yeah. The news, the amount of people that they have. They show pictures on the news of police officers with guns out in front of buildings, and like how crazy the quarantine is, and like telling everybody they're on lockdown, and they show all these guns and ARs and make it seem like the world is falling apart and the sky is just completely taken over by aliens or something crazy. Just something crazy. I don't even know what to say. They make it seem so big, right? Like this huge deal. And then you look and you're like, okay, well, you know, Black Death killed 200 million people. Smallpox killed 56 million people. Spanish flu killed 40 million people. HIV killed 25 to 35 million people. The third plague killed 12 million people. Asian flu killed 1.1 million. Russian flu killed 1 million. Hong Kong flu killed 1 million. Have you even heard of those?
Few of them, but no, not really. For the most part,
like, have you heard of the Russian or the Hong Kong flu?
That's the problem with all of this stuff right now, is the fact it's not the virus that's the problem. It's your own government that's now manipulating their will on you and is taking your rights.
Taking away your liberties, your rights.
It never was the virus. It never was. It wasn't that. I don't personally believe that was ever the issue. It was the fact that they found something that they could immediately attach a narrative to, and then they've been pushing it down your throats. Because look at what's taking place. We are now closer than ever before to martial law, complete lockdowns in your cities, New York, California already doing that. I just saw a video today of an entire highway full of tanks heading to LA right now. And so it never was the virus. It was always just kind of, in my opinion, it's always been something to just take little by little, take your right, take your liberty, take your freedom, and that's all that this has been. And now, and the thing about it, everybody that's freaking out, you're playing right into their little trap, bait, line, and sinker. There's really
if you're scared, if you're freaking out, if you're making videos about it, if you're reflecting that, you're literally feeding to their energy. They are feeding off of the fear. That's how they control the population. Anytime people are in a state of fear, they're easy to manage, control. They're just a lot easier to take care of.
The way I look at it is if there was ever a big collapse where the entire economy shut down, people didn't have jobs, not only that, but there wasn't any infrastructure in America anymore. There wasn't truckers delivering supplies and things like that. There wasn't any airlines doing the same thing with medicine from China and things like that. If it came down to that, it would literally be rioting in the streets. People would turn into blood-filthy animals, and they would be killing each other. And that's just the way that humans are. And then what would happen, you have a government come in, and then they say, hey, we'll give you all this food and stuff. All you have to do is just listen to what we say. People that are starving in the streets are going to follow that, and they're going to happily give away every right that they have if it meant temporary survival. And
even if it literally meant, hey, we're going to put a chip in your brain, and if you don't obey us, then we can turn that chip off, and then you can't transact anymore. Exactly. You can't spend money anymore.
Exactly.
And when people are in a state of paralyzing fear, they will give up their very existence. they'll give up every single right. And so that's what this is really all about. Now, in our last podcast, we talked about how this could be a Great Depression or a 2008. I kind of think this was more like a 2008, 2003 scenario. We've already fell a similar percentage. Not quite as hard. I think we'll fall a little bit further. So we've kind of already had the mini recession / kind of a recession.
It just happened really quick.
It just happened a lot faster than we thought. Now, with that being said, because of how quickly everything happened, it led us to do some extra analysis on the charts in the stock market, and it kind of led us to believe that this is more of a shakeout, and that there'll probably be another 8-year bullish cycle after this. And why is this important? This is important because I do think Bitcoin will be going up through this period of time, and I do think that the economic structure in the world will be rising in value, whether it's stocks. We could be completely wrong. It still could go for like a Great Depression type of thing, but this to me kind of looks like it's not extended out quite enough yet. And so this is looking more like a shakeout. And with that being said, this is how the bankers steal your money. This is how they get you to sell all of your stocks at the bottom. This is how they get you to completely panic and think that the world is ending.
You guys got to remember, somebody on the other side of that is buying up all of that fear. There's somebody here right now that is buying all of this. Everybody that's been selling right now, there's always somebody on that other side that's just buying up all of your bags. And that's why, for me, yes, we saw a huge crash in crypto. Yeah, my long-term portfolio halved over the course of 24 hours, and it was a really, really, really crazy thing. But, you know, the worst thing in the world is to just panic sell. And to me, you know, with us being at these low points in crypto, it would be different, you know, if this was after a massive bull run where we had been uptrending for a year straight, you know, and then all this stuff started coming out. Yeah, then I'd want to sell some of my profits, and even if it dipped 50%, I'd still cut some losses and, you know, have something to take away from. But, you know, with us, we haven't even made any moves in cryptocurrency. Bitcoin made a higher high, and really, this has just been a giant shakeout from day one. I think that this will be a little bit of a slower cycle, or at least on par with the last one that we saw. And right now, it's just the fact that, I mean, if you look at Ethereum, for example, we bottomed in 2019 at $80, went to $360, came back down to, let's see, I think it was like $120 at that bottom, but we mainly consolidated between a range of $80 to $360 for over a year's period of time now. And so for me, with us consolidating within this tight range, this really small price range, it doesn't make so much sense to me that it's just going to sell off and go to new lows. I think that this is just more or less shakeouts before you do start that uptrend. Exactly.
Yeah, and this was capitulation.
Yeah, because we didn't have that.
We've had price capitulation in Bitcoin, but this is more of a minor capitulation for all the cryptos. You know, it doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin or what. This is, for me, this is the minor capitulation narrative. So yeah, I think that Bitcoin will definitely work as an effective hedge. I think that the altcoins will work as an effective hedge, although they are a little higher risk than Bitcoin is. And with that being said, this just means that if we do go in, if this was just a 2008, 2003 kind of thing, and we recover and start going into another bull cycle, that just means that we will still have a Great Depression scenario, but it will just come 8 years down the road, or, you know, just further down the road. And so it's good on the short term. It allows us to build up our wealth, prepare longer, actually get, you know, things prepared instead of panic buying toilet paper right when everything goes wrong, actually having stuff ready for the long term for yourself, setting yourself up financially, preparing all of your hedges for the market to profit off of that. So it ends up being a good thing. So honestly, I've never been happier to admit that I might be wrong about the fact that I said it could go into a Great Depression. Still could be right about that, but this is really just a good thing for us on the short term. For the long term, it just kind of
amplifies the bubble.
Is amplifying and delaying the correction.
And you know, it's hard to say exactly what time frame we could be looking at, because, you know, we could, like you said, go for another 8-year cycle. But with what's transpiring with the Federal Reserve and, you know, the printing and what's going to ensue from that is just hyperinflation. We're already seeing the helicopter money from Trump, and that, you know, a couple weeks from now we should have a better understanding of when that is actually going to take place. And so, you know, we're starting to see these early signs. But in the case of, you know, the Fed, basically we went from, we're going to print 500 billion every 12 hours for this week, to after that week. It's now for the rest of this month. Do you guys really think it's just going to stop after the month?
I don't think that they're going to stop.
They're going to keep printing this money, and I think that it's going to just, it's going to balloon the value of the stock market, Bitcoin, all this stuff. And that's why, to me and you, Bitcoin's always been the hedge against that. Because stocks, I mean, okay, that's just part ownership in a specific company in America.
Single company in one country where, like, if that something happens to that country or that company, you lose your money.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is like, it doesn't matter
There's
what.
so many. It's got utility.
Decentralized, completely decentralized store of value.
One of the things I heard a lot of in the bear market, and specifically the last year, has always been utility was going to be what drives value in the future. And more now so than ever, I do see that as a very valid argument. With cryptocurrencies, it's not just a currency, it's not just a store of value, it can be so many different things.
It's a technology.
Exactly, and that's why I think that they will benefit. Obviously, there's going to be some altcoins that I would assume would flutter and fall, because it's just the way the cycles work.
There's a lot of altcoins that do.
Yeah, but the coins that have been here for the last 5-6 years and have continued to outperform Bitcoin, have continued to, just uptrend in general and show good market structure. These are going to be the ones that are good hedges in the time being, because I think that scarcity will play a huge factor in this. Because one thing that we've often been talking about is the fact now we're to the point where we're starting to see the early signs of hyperinflation with the dollar. With Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies being scarce assets, now's the time where you really want to pick your investments smartly, because in the wake of hyperinflation, are you going to be wanting to hold something that performs like the stock market would, which in theory, if hyperinflation starts, then stocks and everything would just be full on mooning, and you would have the perceived value that you're making money. But what happens when the dollar completely implodes and then those stocks become completely worthless? At least Bitcoin is hedged by the rest of the world.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So, that's why I've always been such a strong believer in Bitcoin specifically, because Bitcoin has always been my personal hedge. And, with having all of this utility, I think that eventually we're going to hit a point. I don't necessarily think that Bitcoin will be the currency of the future. I think it'll be, store of value.
It'll be a form of currency in the future. For sure. But it probably will not be the one that everybody uses for every single transaction unless they make some development on the chain. But I believe that the store of value, the gold, the gold narrative.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going to walk?
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I believe it really truly is.
It works better and it functions better, it makes more sense. And not only does it function better as a store of value, but like you said, it is a currency too, or we could transaction
And it's better than gold as far as a store of value, because gold you have to carry this freaking brick of actual material to take to somebody, whereas a Bitcoin you can be like, here's $1 trillion, or here's this much money, and instantly send it, And so that's the big difference, is the fact that gold, that's why Bitcoin is a better store of value, because gold is a currency still. It's just kind of a crappy currency. Bitcoin is like gold, but it's also a pretty good currency. So it's better than gold is as far as functionality goes.
For sure.
And so that's one of the things that really excites me about the way that Bitcoin works. Also, you guys, the Fed printing money like this is probably what's going to create another bull run in stocks. Another 8-year cycle, since we have a bear market every 8 to 10 years in stocks. And you can go look and you can find those. I personally
think that if this is the hyperinflation bubble, then it's going to happen a lot faster than the conventional cycles, because it'll be really
fast,
quick.
Like 5 years or something.
But I think about how fast Bitcoin went from 3K to 20K. It was like a month. Within a month time frame, it went that big. That was the biggest price expansion we'd seen. And that's what I think. If this is really going to be the start of the big bubble, where it's just the blow off top, then I think that part would happen pretty quickly, and so we should see.
It'll go parabolic like Bitcoin
did
at the end of the year in 2017.
Maybe instead of 8 years, we see 4 years or something.
Yeah,
that would be great. I'd be thankful for that.
Yeah, exactly, and that will provide us an amazing opportunity to not touch stocks at all, but then to touch them after the correction. For now, as far as I'm talking about in the future.
Right.
For now, I think it's a great freaking time to be buying. I think that stocks will drop a little bit further, and I'm specifically talking about the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones.
Indices.
I'm not talking about any specific stock, because I do actually still think that there's a lot of tech stocks that are overvalued. But in the stock market, it's a big enough economy that it's not like if Apple goes down, everything else has to.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas crypto, it's like something goes down, everything goes down. stocks are such a big economy at this point that if Apple goes down, if Nvidia goes down, if Amazon, if Netflix, if all of those crash 30 or 40%, you can still have cannabis stocks which are already down 80% going up 50 to 60.
Yeah, there
it's
has
so
to be,
uncorrelated to each other that it can move
and that's just the
independently.
wealth transfer that's going to take place, and you got to see that from all perspectives. It's going to happen with crypto, it's going to happen with the stock market, it's going to happen with other global markets. It's just the way that we're in a big shifting phase right now, and we're really just starting to see kind of the dominoes fall into accordance to what way we're going to see that. Hyperinflation, obviously the economy is getting weaker with this Federal Reserve printing money. We've already known that this was going to be the case. 2008 was a prime example of what to expect for further down the line. We've now
it creates
hit that roadblock.
a fake economy.
Yeah,
because
and everybody
they
thinks
say
it's going to continue to do good.
They say stocks are the economy. When stocks are not the economy, how many jobs and how many people are getting fed is the economy.
Have you seen the...
And so they're like, oh, look at the stock market. It's going real high. Our economy's so good. It's been the best in 40 years.
That actually takes me to...
But we're just printing, and that's the only reason it's going up. So it's a fake economy. So, yeah, and that is kind of not going to last forever.
So Warren Buffett has an indicator that basically takes the value of the economy and the value of the stock market and it averages those, and it shows you a linear chart or a line chart from kind of when it's in a point where the stock market's way overvalued than the actual growth of the economy is, and then when those switch. Right now, we are at the very, very top of the biggest amount of risk that there's ever been in the stock market, based off of how far the economy is. So the stock market is way, way, way bigger than the value of the actual economy. What the economy in America produces is significantly undervalued compared to what's actually happening with the stock market.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why we're due for a crash, and that's what what's his name? Mike Maloney from YouTube. That guy, if you've never seen him, he's one of my favorite guys to talk about when it comes to just watching documentaries. He's got a really good crypto documentary called Hash Graph and then Cryptocurrency, something like that. But check out Mike Maloney if you guys want to see somebody that he's really into gold and silver, precious metals, but he has a lot of these really cool fundamental perspectives with the economy, and he's actually the one that showed me this Warren Buffett indicator. And when I started to see this, I started to just see exactly how out of proportionate the stock market is compared to the actual value of the economy. So like you said, I mean, we're just due for this correction, and I think that with hyperinflation, this is really the bubble popping finally.
And the big opportunity will be when the big crash comes and then we have the economy and the stock market inversed. When we see the economy being way lower than what stocks are valued at, that's our signal, that's our sign, and that's everybody's opportunity really that follows us as well to be getting into the stock market for the super long term. Because I believe in our lifetimes we'll be able to buy the dip of a correction that's like 70 or 80%.
For sure.
You know, unlike these 30, 40, and 50% ones that we saw 2003, 2008, 2020, I think we're going to see a big one later. And that is the exciting one for me. Because that's like life-changing wealth. That's like if we put in like, we're going to have money for our kids and our kids' kids.
And that's why I've hedged into cryptocurrency. I'm all in on cryptos because for me, I look at the stock market now, I know it's way overvalued. For me, I know I'll make more money investing in crypto if all performs like I think it will. So it only makes more sense for me to just kind of put all my eggs in one basket. Not financial advice by any means, because obviously this is just my own opinion. But I mean, it's what Alex Becker was talking about in his YouTube video, talking about why he bought Bitcoin. He said the exact same things. He said he could either, keep that 9-to-5 job as a marketer and just, make exactly what he needed to and be fine, survive, be happy, healthy, and fine.
Take no risk.
Exactly.
Just be in his little bubble, comfort bubble.
Exactly. But he made all of his money from, going all in on his marketing campaign, putting all of his money in that marketing campaign because he knew it was getting good leads, he knew it was generating income, and so he just went for it. To me, it's the same exact thing with crypto. I know the stock market's overvalued. I know we're due for a crash at some point, whether it comes now or whether it comes 10 years from now. It literally doesn't matter. But what I can say, when that correction does take place, the actual crash, which we're looking bigger than the 2008 depression, or looking at the Great Depression itself, I think that when that actually takes place, that wealth transfer is going to be so big that there's going to be huge bankruptcies of major economies in America. Big businesses are going to go completely belly up.
People that thought they would never be able to lose their money will be left
and
with
then all of that money is going to be dispersed into the rest of the global market. China, India, all of these bigger upcoming economies, they're going to see their personal private investors start buying up those companies that are bankrupt, and that's when you want to be investing. You want to know what good Chinese investors are buying up which companies in America after, you know, the economy implodes, because that's where you're going to make the money. Investing when everything is at rock bottom prices, knowing which investors are going after what, knowing what is actually valuable in this new age of economy. That's what's really going to separate the best investors in the next cycle, in my opinion.
Dude, I agree with you 100%. And I think that when you look at other countries, you can kind of look at them almost like altcoins. Like, you've got, like, you could, like, use the analogy of, like, America's, like, Bitcoin, basically, right now. Mm-hmm. Because it has the biggest amount of production and overall value. And China's getting kind of close. But,
for sure.
But you have... So that's basically like Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like America, China, or whatever. Mm-hmm. They might be a little closer in real life to the same size.
Metaphorically.
But from a metaphorical and from an analogy perspective, I think that it's one of those things where you've got like India has a lot of really, really smart people, and they're also not already distorted. They don't already have all these crappy belief systems that were perpetuated by an established economy. Mm-hmm. So they have this unestablished economy and basically no belief systems at all. So they have a clean slate, clean, fresh mind, and they're starting to invent things that we've never thought of before. Mm-hmm. And I think that's only going to get bigger. So a lot of these other countries, if you can diversify, there might even be some... you know, like stocks in India that you could buy that do better percentages than some of the ones in America in the next cycle.
For sure.
Because of how undervalued some of these other countries are.
I agree, and that's what I think is the great thing about the internet itself, and why everybody here has such an amazing opportunity of actually obtaining wealth, is the fact that, you know, I said it earlier in this podcast how for kids like me it's a little bit harder to earn a basic income, but that's with the small-minded perspective of, okay, I'm going to go out and get a job. Yes, you're not going to get as high paying of a job as you would have 30 years ago, but the amount of wealth that's actually in the world today is so higher. Much greater than anything. And so we need to get out of these small scarcity mindsets where we're thinking, I have to get a job, I have to do that, and instead thinking about, you know, investing, thinking about where you can put your money that's just going to create you passive income on the side. And, you know, with the internet, we now have a way that we can look and see what other countries are doing. We now have another way to communicate with world leaders, you know, through Twitter and social media. We can see kind of the things that they're thinking, specifically through Twitter, because on Facebook it's just kind of, you know, automated messages that everybody shares. But on Twitter, you're actually seeing real people tweeting their real thoughts on things. And with cryptocurrency, being so young, it's really fun for us to be here because we can actually interact with some of these exchanges. We can actually interact with some of these bigger influencers inside of the space. And to me, you know, we just have such an amazing opportunity that's been given to us. And instead of looking so much on the short term with all of this fear that's taking place, start changing that perspective as more of what can you be gaining, what can you learn, and what opportunity can you be finding when everybody else is just giving away theirs.
Yeah. How much value can you grab? Like, there's just this infinite pool of value in the world being created at all times. And like, all you have to do is figure out how to stick your hand in and put a little tube and funnel your portion out that you deserve. Yep. And that's really what it boils down to. And I think that Bitcoin is a great way to do that.
For sure.
Tap into that funnel of money and start getting some headed your way. And with the Bitcoin block halving reward happening in 52 days,
soon,
I think that it's now is better than any other time that we could have even thought of. Honestly, I wasn't even expecting us to get this cheap of a price.
I can't even. I'm at a loss of words thinking about it, because it's just take a second to kind of analyze exactly how the sentiment shifted. So think about it. Before this correction, we were 2 months away from this halving. We were holding support. Everybody knew we made a higher high inside of Bitcoin. You know, we're starting to see the early signs of hyperinflation with the economy. At the time, it wasn't even there. It was after coronavirus, all of that spawned. But, you know, everybody was really bullish. And now we sell off, Bitcoin halves in price. You now get a way big discount compared to where you were previously. And then on top of that, the dollar is now hyperinflating, which has always been the biggest. Everybody in the crypto community has always prayed that the dollar would hyperinflate and boost their Bitcoin bags. And now, the second that all of those turn of events are actually taking place, everybody panics. Yeah,
they're like, the Fed's just printing money, and then they think it's a bearish narrative when that's literally
no sense.
If you're talking in terms of fundamentals, if we just ignore charts completely, if you're talking in terms of fundamentals, inflation is a bullish narrative no matter what.
It's always been the most bullish
it's
narrative.
USD versus Bitcoin, or Euro versus Bitcoin, or whatever freaking country fiat currency versus Bitcoin. So if this one loses value, this one gains value.
Deflationary versus inflation.
There's no way that can ever be a bearish argument to have more inflation than before.
Unless Bitcoin's just funny money and was going to fail from the beginning, then that's the only case. And that's what I just do not understand. We have this halving coming up. Miners are going to have to, right now they're already competing at a loss, and so that number is already going to have to increase from there after that halving. And so my guess is that we'll see, I think that a lot of people are kind of expecting to see kind of this short-term consolidation, something kind of like what we saw back in 2015 out of that double bottom with Bitcoin when it was like $200. I wonder that now that the Fed's injecting all of this money, if it's literally just going to start...
Parabolic right off the bat.
Yeah, the technicals won't even matter at that point because it'll just go straight up. Look at Bitcoin from 2011. Imagine that, but like worse.
Yeah, better, you mean.
Well, better for Bitcoin holders.
Yeah. worse for the dollar, better for us, better for Bitcoin.
But that's the best part of all of this too, is the fact that once the dollar hyperinflates, it's a chain of events that's only going to happen with all of the rest of the fiat currencies out there. Because, you know, whether you like to admit it or not, America is still that front-running power. And until that changes, until something else starts to take off, that's the way it's going to be. And I mean, so many countries out there, specifically our allied countries with America, and even the countries that aren't allies, they rely upon us so heavily with everything that goes on with our economy. The second that our dollar implodes and starts to hyperinflate, it's going to negatively impact every other fiat currency out there. And so, to me, you know, talking about this stuff really just makes no sense why anybody would be bearish in the short term. It was a big crash, I could definitely see that, but I mean, all of the things that are transpiring on an economic level from a fundamental perspective is exactly what we always wanted to have happen as a Bitcoin holder. It literally just doesn't make sense to me.
I love how excited you get. You get so excited you can almost not even put words into your mouth.
This is what we've planned for the last 4 years. Since 2016 when I first got into this. Always, from day one, the dollar was going to hyperinflate one day, banks were going to implode, and I was going to buy Bitcoin, and that was my hedge. Now, you know, 2020 rolls around, all of that starts happening, and then, oh no, sell it. Bitcoin's going to zero. It's done. Just ignore
That's what everybody thinks, which
makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it makes no sense. It makes perfect sense, but it makes no sense.
The emotional psychology makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the emotional psychology makes
when you
perfect
learn how to
sense.
flip that psychological perspective and you're the one buying up the fear and instead you're not selling all of that, it starts to make sense. But the average person right now that doesn't know TA, doesn't know fundamentals, and just bought Bitcoin at, you know, 10K and it's now worth 5K, they're definitely crapping their pants right now.
Yep,
So,
and then they think all the miners left, so they're like, how
they hear
stay around if all the miners are gone?
They hear some guy tweet about miner capitulation and it's going to zero.
Yep, exactly. And also, the altcoins, a lot of them look like 2015 Bitcoin. Ethereum looks
Bitcoin
very
Cash.
similar. Bitcoin Cash, I posted on my Twitter. Go follow us on Twitter. Mine is High Altitude INV. And yours is Vajalarazzi.
Yeah, just look at my YouTube channel in the description.
Yeah, the description will be a little easier than trying to spell Vajalarazzi. That's an old nickname from my little brother, right?
Yeah, forever ago.
Yeah. So, you know, we have altcoins setting up like Bitcoin did in 2015. We have hyperinflation. The economy looks like it's going to go for another leg up. So the recession happened way faster than we ever could have predicted and is probably going to recover. So what we're seeing here is really just a million reasons to be inside of Bitcoin. And there are probably some reasons not to be in it, but when I think about the reasons not to be in it versus the reasons to be in it, the reasons not to be in it are retarded, and the reasons to be in it are very strong and based in a lot of intelligent and intellectual perspective. And it's not just me that have gathered these arguments up. I've found arguments from other people. There's so many smart people in Bitcoin and in cryptocurrency. You can find a lot of interesting perspectives as to why this is going to stay around and why it's going to keep going up in value and why it is an effective hedge.
Yeah,
so
I agree. And I mean, realistically to me, I think that the first and foremost most key reason why Bitcoin is so great and why it will survive even if, you know, America's economy fully implodes and crashes, if that was the case, is just because it's not just American, it's not just Chinese, it's not just Russian, it's not just Indian, it's literally everybody that uses the blockchain that is going to have total power. And so it's decentralized amongst everybody, it's peer-to-peer,
Yep.
It's just a better system. And so, I mean, even if America shut down, even if the power grid went down for a little while, as long as some Chinese kid is still using the internet, still playing games, still buying stuff online with Bitcoin, there's always going to be the demand, and there's really no reason to be so scared about that.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, it makes more sense to me why you'd rather invest into Bitcoin for that one reason. Because, I mean, if you're buying stocks or if you're buying something else, a lot of those are hedged specifically towards the economy that they're housed in.
And they only profit if you buy Facebook stock, you're basically giving value to Mark Zuckerberg. Mm-hmm. So when you're talking about investing, you're investing in people. And if you want to invest in people, you should invest in the entire planet. #Bitcoin.
Right.
Like, don't invest in one freaking person, invest in the entire world.
Exactly.
And that's why I think Bitcoin is so cool, is that it actually gives us an opportunity to come together, to create a community, to call each other a planet, to say that we're all the same, to not care. It's basically like nobody cares about race. Screw what you believe. Screw what religion you are. Screw all of those things. We don't care. Bitcoin is for everyone. Mm-hmm. And there's how many things in this world are literally for everybody, you know, and Bitcoin is one of them. And I think that it will be single-handedly the thing that creates an alliance between people so that hopefully we don't end up in nuclear fallout or something more catastrophic. It allows us to want everybody to be a team. Mm-hmm. It creates a space for us to work as a team together.
Exactly. And I think it's really exciting, realistically, because, you know, now we don't have to trust anybody. You know, now your central bank can't, you know, decide to say that you can't transact because of your political beliefs or because of these sort of beliefs. Or, you know, like Julian Assange, he was one of the very first people to invest in Bitcoin. And the reason why he invested into Bitcoin was because the United States government and banking institution completely banned him from using any banks in America. He could literally not use banks, and he had WikiLeaks that he had money coming from, he had donations and things like that. And so guess what?
He had to use the
Julian Assange invested in Bitcoin at 5 cents. And at the peak, when Bitcoin was, you know, $15,000, $20,000, he had made over 50,000% profit from those initial investments. And, you know, it's that perfect example of why Bitcoin's so great, is because Julian Assange, to me, is an American hero. He's so overlooked in the way of, you know, American heroes today are just people that are climate scientists or something that say that the sun is heating up the earth or something dumb, and then they win, you know, the Nobel Peace Prize. Whereas Julian Assange risked his entire livelihood to leak government information, proving why they're so evil, proving all of these negative things that they're doing, hurting the U.S. economy, and then they completely ban him from using any of the infrastructure to actually survive in America. This is why Bitcoin's so great, because Bitcoin isn't going to segregate you for your belief systems. Bitcoin isn't going to be able to do all of that, and it can't stop you. Nobody can stop you from doing that. And so
it literally just doesn't have
edge.
Human emotion.
Exactly.
It can't judge you. It can't think that you're, you know, it can't judge you for your race, your religion, or anything, or what you believe, or
it's not prejudice.
It doesn't even judge you if you want to share a bunch of documents that the government has, you know.
Or if you want to buy some illegal drugs offline. Bitcoin
we do not condone the use of anything illegal on this podcast.
Of course not. But it's just one of those things where, you know, I've always been a libertarian believer. I've always believed everybody should have free will to do what they want. If you want to go do drugs and ruin your life, if you want to, you know, do whatever the hell you want, I think that everybody should have total freedom to do that. Obviously, if it starts to negatively impact other people, there's a problem there. But there is ways that we can get around this. There shouldn't be so many overruling authorities that say what we can and can't do. Bitcoin's just a hedge against it.
I'll tell you this. It doesn't help to put a heroin addict in prison.
No.
Because, first of all, prison has a bunch of drugs. So, like, it's not like he's not getting the heroin anymore. People do it all the time in prison. You can watch documentaries, Drugs Inc., whatever the F you want to watch. The thing is people are going to do what people are going to do. So education is the solution. And properly educating, properly creating systems to give people, you know, resources they need to understand why they're feeling the feelings they're feeling, because usually it's just somebody trying to mask something. They don't have internal purpose, and so they're using it as a mask. So, you know, when it comes to drugs, I personally think that libertarian perspective is very, very good, but I think that idea kind of falls into all kinds of things. I think that falls into the category of guns. You know, I think that if somebody wants to have a pistol, they should be able to have a pistol. But we should have a lot of education around those matters, properly educating people. And it shouldn't just be flaunted around. It should be highly respected and sacred, because guns can give you a deer to survive if you don't have any way to survive, or they can also take somebody's life if somebody's coming after your family. But they can also you could also take your own life with one. So it's a sacred thing. Weapons are sacred. Whether it's a gun, a spear, or a pencil inside of the school that somebody wants to stab somebody with, it's a sacred thing. And so education is the only solution, because you cannot remove those things. We can't take pencils out of schools. We can't, you know.
It's just the same dumb argument where it's like, take that argument and say, okay, well, this old woman just crashed into some kid and killed him driving her car.
Take the cars away from everybody.
Yeah, nobody can drive a car anymore. It's just those simple dumb rules where, you know, people that believe that fail to, you know, take that same perspective, whether it's the gun argument, whether it's something entirely different. People will just blindly follow whatever somebody says. They say, oh, this kills people, it's bad. When actuality, it's not that big of a problem, and really we just need education on these sort of things. And that's why I think China is doing such a phenomenal job with everything that's taking place. Aside from the pandemic, not even getting into that, but just what they're doing with you know, the current education around blockchain technology and cryptocurrency in general. It was like 2 months ago, I think, that they started making, you know, headlines in their papers talking about how they're creating classes for college, or I don't know what they do in China, I don't know if it's college or what, but they're creating classes so that people can actually educate themselves on blockchain studies, the technology, science behind it, and then they're also educating about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And so to me, I mean, I think that they're just ushering in all of this new age of stuff, and it's education that's going to get everybody to that point. And I mean, America, they're scared of cryptocurrency, and they're trying to ban it, or they're trying to tax it, or trying to do this. Slowly, since the last year, they've kind of started to give a lot more leeway to it, and it's been very, it's a good sign, an encouraging sign. But, you know, it's the people that are practicing education and are really trying to get that instilled in everybody that are going to perform the best. And it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a gun argument, whether it's pandemic, whether it's cryptocurrency, education is what's most important.
Here's what I believe. I believe that technology exists, and so, because you have to believe that, otherwise you're completely insane. But I believe technology exists, and so because technology exists, you have two options as a society. One, completely ban all technology. All of it. Because all of it can be used for evil. Or two, program it so that it's not used for as much evil. And if you think about the argument of what you said about the person in the car, technology can be good. Cars can be good or bad. You can run into somebody with a car, or you can get to work in your car. If you accidentally run over somebody, that's a technological thing that we can program out. We already have Tesla, we already have vehicles that can see the person and stop before our eyes can see them, before the human error can see them. And so when I talk about weapons, when I talk about money, when I talk about computers, when I talk about anything that's technologically based, we either have to completely ban everything, or we have to program it to be safer. Because you can't try to, once you try to take away one piece of technology, then everybody says, oh, well, this can be used for good and bad. You know, I can use my computer to make YouTube videos to educate somebody on something useful, or I could be buying and selling illegal pornography or something like that. You know, like it's all about how we program our technology to be safer for ourselves, because we've already went down the rabbit hole of using technology. If humans wouldn't have found fire, then, you know, maybe maybe we'd be in a different situation than we are today, but we figured out how to start a fire, and so now we have computers and cars and airplanes and guns.
America.
So, you know, that's just my perspective. I grew up in Utah, but I personally have always been more libertarian, especially when I found the Joe Rogan podcast. Huge shout out to him. But that's my thoughts. I get a little heated about it, but
nowadays especially, it's just such a big a nuisance just to hear about this. It's always my side is right. I just made a tweet talking about maximalists and crypto because it's the same political debates that you see Republican versus Democrat, same type of crap. Basically, some person commented on one of my tweets, and they said something about XRP, and then some other guy commented, asked a question, and then said that he liked Link. And then the person that liked XRP just started, saying that he was dumb or something because only one can be right. And it's just the same dumb things that are said every time, whether I'm a Republican, Democrats are dumb, you are all wrong, and only I am right. It's the same sort of thing. Everybody got to get out of these short-term mindsets where it's only one can be right or one can be wrong, when they're all a collective of the same universal concept. And so some might live, some might not. But at the end of the day, if we, instead of focusing on why mine is right and why yours is wrong, instead if we came to an understanding of, oh, yours has a lot of really good points, this has a lot of utility in this way, this is why I like mine, and show kind of why they are similar, why they're different, how you can take both and combine them into one better perspective. And that's the big issue that we're at right now, is everybody's in this weird tribalism state where my side or the highway, when in actuality if we instead kind of flip the script to where we just tried to get something positive, something to kind of take away from the conversation, there'd be so much better everything.
Learn from
more
each
education.
other.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest key, is to be able to learn from each other.
It's the monkey mind versus the awakened or the aware mind. Whether you're just completely functioning out of full instinct and not even aware of anything you're saying or doing, or you've started to awaken yourself and become aware of what you say, how it affects others, how you're the same as the person next to you, how we're all this universal human species. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. And I think that for me, meditation is a big way to allow myself to connect to the awakened mind and quiet the monkey mind. I think that everybody has the monkey mind within us, no matter what. But quiet that and expand the other mind.
That actually brings me up to a point. With all of this market uncertainty, really, really important that, I think a big reason people panic sell is because of that monkey mind. They don't have control over the emotional state. And that's why, you brought up meditation as being such a key point in all of that. And I feel like that has single-handedly improved my life more dramatically than probably any other significant habit that I have for the most part. I just think that would be such a positive thing to just kind of
encourage people to do.
Yeah, really, because you're quieting your mind. You're able to kind of just connect back within yourself, hive mind, whatever you want to call it, your higher self. There's so many different terms. But just taking time to sit in a dark room with yourself for 20 minutes, you don't think that that's hard, but try and sit there and just be present with yourself with all of those thoughts and chatter. You're going to start to understand exactly how crazy that mind is, and that's why it's so beneficial to trading, is because, the market crashes 50%. You went from having this much money to now that much money's cut in half. That mind is just going to be going crazy. It's going to be telling you all kinds of things. Exactly. So why not take the time now to, improve that habit, improve that within yourself to where you can actually, quiet that mind, because it's only going to help you not only in your everyday to-day life, but it's going to help you with investing, it's going to help you with trading, whatever the heck you're trying to be doing right now.
Yep.
With the fear, it's very important in times like this, that's exactly what you're doing.
And I agree 100%. It's one of those things, I think that everybody in times like this, it's more important to focus on yourself. Everybody wants to get mad at this person at Walmart for stealing all the toilet paper or whatever, but focus on your own energy. Be a positive person for yourself. And for me, meditation is just a way to connect with myself, and that inner chatter, that inability to quiet the mind, that inner turmoil. When you take that inner turmoil and you turn it into inner peace, that becomes inner power.
Exactly.
And inner power becomes strength, and that strength allows you to make smart decisions consistently over the long term.
It reminds me of I forgot my train of thought. I don't remember where I was going. Oh yeah, it's kind of like one of these funny things where, you know, through meditation, everybody thinks that you're trying to shut off your mind entirely, and you know, everybody shoots to just be completely still and have no thought. When in actuality, by trying to do that, you're almost like creating this weird alter ego in its place, where you're trying to shut off one mind when it wasn't ever meant to be shut off. It was like you meant to say, it's meant to, you know, coexist within yourself as a more positive place, because your mind is a garden. And obviously, to grow a healthy garden, you have to water it every day. Your thoughts are just like the water. And so if you generate healthy, positive thoughts, you're going to be creating a healthy garden to eat. And it's the same thing with your mind. If you're sitting there saying negative things, saying why this is bad, or why this is wrong, or why I'm dumb, or this and that, and instead you focus that to more of a positive note, not only is that going to help your own mental health in general, but it's also going to help and transpire in a number of different ways, because you'll start to perceive things different. Like charts, I mean, think about it. If you're somebody that's very pessimistic about the entire world, you're only going to see things as going down. Whereas if you learn to either have no bias at all or flip that to a more positive look, you're going to be able to see other opportunities that you normally wouldn't.
Buy the dip, you know, or
Exactly.
look how much it went up, I can take my profits. Like, you have a completely different perspective. Yeah, I think it's so fun to start to, like you said, quiet that mind, because everybody, when they try to do meditation, they sit down and they try to stop it like a river coming and putting a dam in the river.
Yeah.
And what happens is the river fills up, and then the dam will overflow after a certain point.
And you're just stuck.
And then it's just like you have this energy block within you. So what you really, really want to do, at least what I found for my meditations, is I allow myself to have those thoughts. And it's okay if they come up. Whatever comes up, let it come up, you know. But I'm not attached to them. I just let them kind of be there. But then when I let them be there, they kind of subside on their own. With enough time, they kind of just disappear.
It's really just a training exercise where, you know, at first you start there and your mind's going to be talking really loud, and it's going to be hard to not listen to it because you've only been listening to that your whole life. And now
it controls you. It's your master.
Then the second that you switch that and you're sitting there, okay, I'm in this dark room here and my eyes are shut and I'm not supposed to be thinking. It's not like that. It's just more or less you're there. You're seeing the thoughts pop up. You're not looking at them as good or bad. You're not trying to attach any meaning to them. They're just thoughts. You're
not getting mad at yourself for having one.
Exactly.
Because that's going to make you really angry.
See, that's one of the biggest things with new people getting into meditation I talk about. Is just the fact that they get mad at themselves because they can't stop thinking. But that's what's creating their problem, is they're trying to stop thinking, and that's self-perpetuating more thought, and then they're just stuck, and they're like, help. But, you know, it's always one of those things where once you practice meditation, you're always having that chatter in your head anyways. But once you start to sit in a room by yourself in the dark, you'll have the thoughts pop up. You'll start to see kind of what your overall thought process is. Is it more pessimistic? Is it more positive? But then aside from that, just being able to sit there and then not attach to any specific thought, you're going to actually start to create almost like a disattachment from those thoughts. You're going to be separate from those, and then you'll be
not
able
going to be so emotionally attached.
Because your
to
thoughts
them.
create your emotional state in a big way, and so if you have these thoughts and then they're really negative and they're scary, it's going to make a lot of fearful feelings inside of you. And so it's a matter of being able, like I said, make a garden and cultivate that garden with healthy, positive thoughts, or positive water or whatever.
Yeah, for me it's like bad stuff still happens when I'm meditating, of course, but the bad things that happen to me don't feel as scary, and I just feel like I have the strength to tackle them. And it's just like, it's whatever at that point. And it's a discipline, but when I use the word discipline, I don't want you to like think of like I gotta discipline myself and like get angry with yourself and stuff like that.
Switch.
Yeah, it's a discipline in the sense of, you have to have some patience to sit there for 20 minutes.
It's roughly the... Sorry, carry on.
And that patience builds up, and when you sit there for 20 minutes and then you kind of create that inner peace, all of a sudden you're sitting at your computer and then you've been there for 4 hours and you're like, I was focused for 4 hours and I didn't think about a single other thing, and I had inner peace. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't thinking about the past, the future, anything. I was just in flow and working in my state of mind, just in my zone. And I think that's the biggest thing.
For sure.
Is get in your zone, remove that anxiety, create that inner peace, and then you stop blaming everybody else, and that's what we really need to do as a culture. I believe that meditation could greatly save us as a culture.
And, honestly, with meditation, you're always going to have this opposing perspective where it's like, oh, I'm Christian, I'm not supposed to meditate. But, there's just all these, weird stereotypes and belief systems, and, meditation for you could mean something different. Meditation for you might actually require you to be praying to, whatever your belief system is in your higher power. It can mean so many different things. I personally pray, and I personally meditate every single day, and to me, that gives me a positive balance where I'm bringing energy within myself, and then I'm also directing that energy to something greater than me. Because I'm not even trying to get into a conversation about God or spirituality or anything, but, for me, it always helps if I can bring that energy in at night, right before I go to bed, all of those thoughts, all that thing, if I can just ground myself and bring myself back into a state of peace, when I wake up the next morning, I feel so much better. I feel refreshed. I don't have the same brain fog, the mind chatter, all that stuff.
You're not blaming everybody else around you for your internal feelings.
And that's the biggest part of all, I think, is you're finally allowing yourself to take initiative for the way that you personally feel. Because, nobody else controls how you feel. Only you control that. Somebody might do something that internally irritates you, but you're the one that holds on to that baggage. And so, by learning to let go of all of those things, learning to ground yourself, take that energy back within you, it's going to completely change your entire outside world, because life is a projection of you. It's just a mirror. And so whatever you're thinking inside of you, all of your thoughts, feelings, desires, insecurities, all of that is getting projected to everybody and everything you come in contact with. So when you meditate, when you quiet that monkey mind, it allows you to bring that energy back within, and then it allows you to take that energy, and instead of projecting it into everything around you and making these problems, you can put it and direct it towards something positive, like investing or building stuff. It doesn't matter. Everybody's into different things, but this is what's been helpful for me towards investing, has just been actually meditating and sticking to that habit.
And actually for me, when I meditate, I actually have learned to cultivate a greater respect for all religions, because I get into these deeply spiritual states. And I personally, I'm not here to say anyone is right, any religion is wrong, good, bad, anything like that. I was personally raised in the Mormon, the LDS religion, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I personally decided that I wasn't going to follow organized religion as a personal decision, but I see so much value in it. There's good and there's bad in everything, but I see so much value in my family members. I see value in other Christian churches. I see value in Hinduism. I see value. So I have a respect for all religions, and I've actually personally found in multiple places in at least the religion I grew up in, the LDS church, where they actually talk about meditating, or the prophets in the church will tell you to have 20 minutes of silence and meditation. So a lot of times meditation isn't even against certain religious beliefs or anything like that. It seems to be in alignment with them for me.
And I think the only difference is you'll get a little bit of a difference between Eastern philosophies and then Western philosophies. But looking into both of those philosophies, there's been the Bible will have its own way of saying meditate. It'll say meditate on the words of God. So in that way, you read the Bible, read up on some scriptures, think about something that really struck with you, and then you'd meditate on that thought and that principle.
I see how that can be very useful, because there's a lot of useful morals and things inside of
that's
the
the greatest part about meditation, is the fact, maybe that's you sitting in a dark room and trying not to have any thoughts, or just trying to separate yourself from those thoughts. Maybe it's you cultivating a positive thought. Maybe it's you reprogramming that subconscious
affirmations mind. Or prayer, like what you said. Meditation is listening to God, and prayer is speaking to God.
Yeah, and I think it's a good,
God, whatever that means for you. Yeah. So
whether it even means anything. Either way, I still think that everybody would find great value in meditation. Aside from spirituality, whatever your belief systems are, that's not what's important by any means. And obviously, that's the last thing that.
That's what's important for you. Yeah. For you as a person, your belief system is all for you. Yeah. It's not the subject of this conversation. The subject of this conversation is how beneficial meditation is to open your body and your mind up to new things.
We're always talking about the emotional psychology of the market, and how to better understand the emotional psychology is to dive into your own emotional psychology, because you're not ever going to understand how everybody else works if you don't know how your own emotional statement works, or state works. And so, by meditation, this is us connecting with the core principles of our investing strategy. As weird as that seems, it's really the case, because when we learn how to recognize our own emotions, we can know when times where we've been really struggling, where we've been super scared, and then we can take that state and we can know how we felt, and then we can start to see it in other people that are expressing those same emotions. And
when somebody tweets, the way they word things, like you can just see like the emotional state that they were in at that time, because you've been there, you've recognized it, and then you've moved yourself to a better emotional state for yourself.
Exactly.
So you know the lower ones and the higher ones.
Exactly. So
well, I think that's pretty much everything I want to talk about in today's podcast. Freaking awesome podcast, you guys. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure that you're hitting that like button for us, a whole bunch right now. Let's get about 200 likes on this video. And sharing this with your friends. We're posting the podcast, like we said, every single weekend. And it's so fun for us to record these every single time we do it.
Tons of awesome information, just full of things that we don't get to normally talk about in our TA videos. Lots of things for new guys getting into this to just be able to pick up on some basic understandings. I mean, today we even got into some more stuff that's way off topic from normal cryptocurrency
but
talk.
It's so useful that it is on topic at the same time.
Exactly. So we always just love and appreciate everybody tuning in. You guys have just been killing it with the support. I consistently see more video or upload every single week, getting more and more views, more traction. People are starting to share it a lot more, and so we honestly just love to be able to put on this for you guys, because we understand exactly kind of how scary it can be with this market. We know how volatile it gets, and to be able to just hear an unbiased approach and a level-headed opinion from people that have been able to trade the cycles, it's really invaluable in these state of markets. So thank you guys so much for the support. Always remember to leave likes, comments, subscribe to the channel. Discords, both of our channels have Discords. You guys can check out in the links, the description of each video. We're going to have links to our channels, Discord, all of our social media, all of that stuff, so you guys can actually get access and ask us questions, join all of our communities, and just start to get that real interaction that you guys might crave inside a real community. Yeah,
we have so much fun making these podcasts. Seriously, we get into these conversations and expand our knowledge as well when we have these conversations. And so we're glad that you guys are tapping into that, enjoying it. We also have fun with our Discords and our communities, and so make sure that you guys are in those. Really appreciate everybody tuning in today, and as always, stay profitable out there.